Well, hello, and welcome to episode 224 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, 30 years ago, we were in high school, which this is where our film is taking place in. But there was a movie that came out. It was called Clueless. It starred Alicia Silverstone, who was on this, I don't know, just like bullet trajectory to stardom. She kind of came in out of nowhere, I think like the year before with Crash. She did a couple of Aerosmith videos for those ultra popular Aerosmith songs, and then was the lead here in Clueless. But Clueless was kind of monumental in a way because I think it changed the way we looked at like high school like coming of age stories. It changed the way that like people like all the way out to even Ohio from like Beverly Hills were interpreting fashion and the way people were behaving. You didn't see this, Michaela, but today we're talking about Clueless.
Yeah, I missed it. On purpose, I will say. I had there was very little love lost for this film and me in high school. Everybody was losing their mind about it. Lines like "as if" and like "rolling with the homies" were being thrown around. And I was like, I'm not interested in it at all. Probably, if I'm honest enough with myself, probably because I was neither rich nor beautiful, nor trying to date Paul Rudd. And so I was probably just jealous of the whole thing. I was like, there's no way that this story is going to actually have any endearing qualities, and it's just going to be this bubblegum thing that turned into a phenomenon that has apparently lasted 30 years. So the joke was on me, and I'd seen it. I have seen it one time before, but I watched it for the sake of this pod, and we're going to talk about all of that a little bit later. But yeah, I missed it. I missed out on the whole thing, but you didn't. You watched it.
I didn't. Yeah, it was. I was front and center in 1995. Actually, it was probably 1996 when I saw it. I think the first time I saw it was probably on TV. Is probably showing on like HBO or something. Caught it on a free weekend. But yeah, this is one of my favorites, and I love the story quite a bit. And it's celebrating its 30th anniversary. If you're able to, the day that we're recording this, it's still at the movie theaters, I think. But if you're listening to this on Thursday, sorry, you probably missed it. But go ahead and pop in your DVD copy of it because you probably have one laying around. And yeah, roll with the homies, all that stuff. So let's do this, Michaela. Let's go ahead and take a quick break because we need to mix up a cocktail that is worthy of Cher and Dionne and Ty and revisit a podcast friend, Cinema Sips, who we haven't done a cocktail from in quite a while. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back to mix up this week's drink.
So Brian, I had never seen, not never, but I'd seen this film and I could not remember like if there was alcohol in it or if there was a cocktail that it highlighted or if there
Hmm.
was like a drunken party where everybody drinks too much of like one liqueur or something. So I had to take to the internet for advice and guidance. And I gotta say, Cinema Sips never fails. They are amazing over there. If you've not if you've been a listener of this podcast and not heard of Cinema Sips, please go check them out. We've covered a few of their cocktails, and I like to think that we are friends of them just because we shamelessly tell everybody to go check their stuff out because their cocktails number one are always delicious. They've never gotten it wrong, like ever. We've never done one that we didn't love. And number two, the way in which they think about like putting these things together is really special. So this is called the Duchess. It is from Cinema Sips. If you've not heard of them, please go check them out. Because everything they do is delicious and very apropos of movies.
Hmm. Yeah, and Liz uses some pretty good glassware too, so it's worth checking out
Mm,
there on that
mhm.
front as well. So let's go ahead and throw one of these together. It's not a super difficult cocktail, but you probably are going to have to go to the grocery store and pick up a couple of things here for this. But into a shaker tin goes roughly a quarter of a cup of raspberries. I just kind of eyeballed that. I think I used like I don't know, like 6 or 7 raspberries in mine. And go ahead and take out your trusty muddler and get those mashed up pretty good. You want to get all of that raspberry juice flowing. And then to that, you can add 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce of white chocolate liqueur, and 1.5 ounces of white rum. You're going to want to go ahead and shake that with some ice pretty vigorously, to make sure that that raspberry gets infused through all that so you get a nice pink color of your cocktail. And then you're going to strain it into a like a martini glass or some sort of like cocktail glass that's filled with crushed ice. And it's going to be pink and beautiful. It's probably going to strain up if you have like one of those shaker tins that has like the little cap on it. skip that.
Yep.
Use like a sieve or something else, or hopefully if you have like a Boston shaker, it's probably got like a Hawthorne strainer. Use that. That's going to keep all the raspberry bits from getting in there and clogging you up. So go ahead and sip and enjoy. So I want to talk a little bit about this cocktail just in general, but you made one for yourself, Michaela. What were your initial impressions of it? What were you thinking it was going to taste like going into it versus what it actually was, I guess?
So I thought it was going to be real sweet, and it was
Hmm.
not real sweet. And I really think the secret here is depending on what kind of white chocolate liqueur. Now, this called, I think you said, this called for Godiva's white chocolate liqueur. Godiva
Hmm.
doesn't make that anymore. Shame on you, Godiva. So if you're going to use that, if you have any left over, it's probably too old to drink now. But if you have some, use it. Great. But I think the sweet factor is really gonna be determined by how much and what kind of white chocolate liqueur you have. Because I was expecting this to be real sweet, and the lemon juice really tartens it up. It is almost
Hmm.
too tart for me. So if you're worried about that, you can always tone down the lemon juice, go to like a half an ounce or three-quarters of an ounce. But you're definitely gonna want to play around with this one just because depending on the white chocolate liqueur, I think, and maybe even the rum, I use just a basic Bacardi white rum.
Hmm.
But if you were gonna do, uh, I don't know, something with like coconut in it or like a vanilla rum, that's gonna make it even sweeter. So then maybe you want to use the whole ounce of lemon juice. But I was surprised. I first think that it's beautiful, but it tasted really well balanced. It was enough for me to want to drink two or three of them, which is I was not expecting. I thought it would just be too sweet.
Yeah. It was much more tart than I was expecting with that amount of lemon juice. And I think in addition to that, the white chocolate liqueur I used was from Mozart. I don't know which one
Mm.
you used, Michaela, but that's a really nice high quality one in lieu of the Godiva there. But I think that kind of the ripeness and the tartness level of your raspberries is going to come into play here a
Hmm.
little bit on this as well. So you can go ahead and tweak those a little bit as you wish. But yeah, I was surprised too because you look at the ingredients and you're like, oh, like berries and white chocolate, that's going to be a sweet thing. But no, it was very tart and very kind of sharp, but it had this really neat mouthfeel, I think, from the white chocolate liqueur there, and then the rum plays really nicely with that flavor of the raspberry. So this was nice. It was very like luxurious tasting, even though it was very different, I think. In the glass than what I had in my mind when I first took that initial sip of it. So definitely kind of play around with that tartness level there, depending on how much of it you want, and it. I think it does probably mellow out a little bit too. It's important to use the crushed ice here because that's going to melt a little bit quicker
Mm.
than just regular like big ice cubes would too, and that's going to kind of cut through that and create kind of this more like slushy type of a
Yeah,
consistency.
yeah. No, I thought it was surprising, which makes sense because the movie itself, I think watching it even now, 30 years later, is surprising, right? You can't judge a movie by its preview or a cocktail by how it looks because this looks pretty pink, simple, and sweet, and it is pretty and pink, but it's far from simple and it ain't really all that sweet. So, enjoy it. I think more people should try this. I've been wanting to do more white chocolate liqueurs
Hmm.
or more drinks with that in it, but I don't want them to be just a sugar bomb. And so this has been really good for me because I'm going to add this to my repertoire of ones that aren't so sweet so I can have more of them.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think that this methodology would work well if you wanted to swap out the raspberries for, say, strawberries or blueberries or, probably even like blackberries, something like that. And you could use kind of the same ingredient list here. Just swap out those berries for something a little bit different. So, with that made, what we need to do now is we need to take a quick break. We can practice our driving so we can ace our driver's exam. That'll be good. That'll be good. And we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Clueless.
You're not letting her go out like that, are you?
Cher, get in here.
What's up, Daddy?
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
It looks like underwear. Go upstairs and put something over it.
Dad, I was just going to.
Hey, you. Anything happens to my daughter, I got a 45 and a shovel. I doubt anybody would miss you.
Bye, Daddy.
Spoiler warning for Clueless. If you've not yet seen this, you've had 30 years, and we're going to talk about all of it. You've probably seen something similar if you've watched Emma or read Emma or something like that. But we're going to talk about Clueless, which is 30 years old. Happy 30th birthday to Ty and Dionne and Cher. Happy 30th birthday to this movie that is arguably shaped. I mean, this was like the precursor to Mean Girls. This is before Legally Blonde. There's some that say that this is actually like a prequel to Legally Blonde, which I don't know if I believe that necessarily, but yeah, we're gonna talk about the things you've been warned. But happy birthday, Clueless.
You've been warned. Happy birthday, Clueless. Yeah, because this released in 1995. It was written and directed by Amy Heckerling, and it stars Alicia Silverstone as Cher, the most popular girl in the valley. Stacey Dash plays her best friend Dionne, and Brittany Murphy is Ty, the new girl to town. And looking the same today as he did 30 years ago, Paul Rudd is the ex-stepbrother Josh.
Slash vampire
Slash
that lives in the
slash
hearts and
vampire.
minds of everybody. To be fair, like honestly, Paul Rudd, he's never gonna hear this, but dude, what skincare are you using? Because Alicia Silverstone was arguably the most gorgeous creature to ever walk the planet in 1995, right? And she looks amazing still, but she definitely doesn't look like no time has passed. And you do. So is it beef tallow? Are you sacrificing chickens or something? What's going on, Paul? What's going on? I mean,
The world
and
wants to know.
world wants to know what is happening.
The world deserves to know. Yeah, absolutely. So those are our main players here. We've got a couple of other people we'll talk about here as we kind of make our way through the film a little bit. But I wanted to talk here first about Amy Heckerling, Michaela. So that's who wrote and directed this film. Amy Heckerling has done a bunch of things. She did the Look Who's Talking series, the Look Who's Talking and Look Who's Talking 2. She did those. She did the National Lampoon's European Vacation, but most prominently also directed Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is one of the most beloved, kind of like high school comedy films of them all, for sure. And reading up a little bit about this, Amy Heckerling was talking about writing Clueless, and it was originally written to be a TV show, and then spoiler, they turned it into a TV show after the success of the film. But she was really kind of taken aback by people's like love and affection for the character Jeff Spicoli, who Sean Penn played in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And she said that he was a stoner like surfer kid, and he was funny, but she really thought that people were drawn to him because he wasn't like ill-willed or mean, and she
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to kind of play around with that archetype here again, and that kind of turned into what we get today as Clueless. So you mentioned is this is kind of the forefront of Mean Girls, and certainly kind of the dynamics, I guess, and the paradigms of high school here are represented here. But I think that Clueless is really interesting in the fact that our main character Cher, played by Alicia Silverstone, while is rich and very beautiful and seems to be very carefree, things and along those lines, she doesn't really seem to have like any sort of ill will to her character, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. No, she's not a mean girl. And I get the Heathers vibe from this, like from just like looking at some of the marketing materials that they used, and just some of the color, like the color choices that they've made, with the costuming, and which is yeah, as you say, is very interesting because like Cher is just a lovable oaf of a girl. Like she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like she's not very smart, but she's also not completely oblivious to things. And she goes on a journey, right? This of being into herself and trying to figure out who she is. It's interesting that when I don't mind saying this, when I first saw that this was like in the top 10 of coming of age movies in the 90s, I rolled my eyes so far back in my head. I was like, you've got to be kidding. However, I am wrong. I'm going on the record to say I am wrong because when you talk about paradigm shifting and changing, Cher Horowitz is actually a pretty great example of this in, a modernization of kind of a classic, a classic story of someone who's changed by, their friends' relationships and then changed by her own kind of e- exploration of what love means. And it's done in this backdrop of something that is very quirky and very Fast Times at Ridgemont High-esque, right? Where nothing really matters. Everything is so over the top and stupid. Like you can't take it seriously or
Hmm.
else it's going to make you mad, right? Like she can't drive at all. And yet somehow she makes it to school every day. Um, there's a scene where they get on a highway and you think everyone's going to die and it's really funny. It's supposed to be really funny. But if you take it too seriously, then you're gonna miss kind of the deeper points of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because you have Cher here is the main character. I want to talk about her and kind of how she interacts with these different people throughout the film. I thought that would be kind of the best way to talk about it. But I mean, just to take a look at it as a whole, like you have the high school, which is almost like a character and a caricature of itself there, right? Looking at these like Beverly Hills kids, and they're like if you ask someone from like Omaha, Nebraska, to talk about what Beverly Hills kids would have been like in 1995, like this is what it would have been,
Yep.
right? Like it's very much a caricature unto itself to that end. And it doesn't take itself super seriously, but yeah, I mean, we talk about Cher and kind of this growth that she goes through, and in a lot of high school like coming of age stories, it's either because the character is like sheepish and shy, and they like learn how to like be bold and brave in the world, or they're a mean girl and they learn that they're being mean and they should be nice. But Cher's discovery is really interesting and kind of complex because she doesn't like herself, I don't think changes that much in the course of that. She just recognizes like who she is, kind of from the start of this. Like I mentioned, she doesn't like really like seem ill-willed. Even we'll get like Ty coming into to school, like Brittany Murphy's character, and she's talking through like these are the different like classes of kids there, and she's not like ill-willed or mean towards them. She's like, well, the stoners are over there, and these are the ones that we date over here. But it's not like those ones are losers, and we can't associate with them, right? I mean, even like in the
Mm.
the very next scene, ends up going to a party there with
Mhm.
Travis and all the skateboard kids. So I think that it was really neat and kind of like I don't want to say like an inclusive way, but it was kind of like neat and refreshing to like rewatch this and be like, yeah, I mean, obviously there were very different like class dynamics here at the school, but like that didn't seem to be like that important to her.
Right. I mean, except, yeah, no, that's true. She was not a classist. She was not one very cliquey for being someone that was quote unquote one of the most popular girls in the school. She was that way because she was welcoming kind of to everybody. Like they might not have been her people, but she certainly didn't put them down. Which is interesting because that's kind of the crux of the very beginning part of what happens to Cher when she meets Ty Frazier, right? Ty is a brand new girl from school. She's from New York, I think. She has a very strong kind of New York accent.
Hmm.
And so rather than just say, oh, she's new and she's different and she's weird, she's like, oh, she takes her under her wing with Di. And they, try and learn more about her and rather than put her down for just being different. And I think that that was the first kind of change that I expected,
Hmm.
because you would expect someone who had all that privilege and it didn't even occur to them that like there were people that couldn't that didn't have this crazy closet. Like I love that within the first 5 minutes she's got this closet that like I don't know, has a computer that helps you
Yeah.
like image what your clothes would look like and perfect match for clothes. She just doesn't get that that's not normal. Um, but she's still kind of lovable to everybody around her.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit, like I said, about kind of sharing these different people that she interacts with through the film. So I guess let's start um at home. Let's start with her and her father, her dynamic that she has with her dad, single dad, but one of the most like powerful attorneys in all of California. So that's pretty good. Played by Dan Hedaya, plays Mel Horowitz there, the father in this, and I really really like their dynamic of the two. Like he's very supportive of her and her ambitions, but she is also very much like this caretaker figure of him. All right, her mother
Mm.
passed away, I guess, when she would have been very young. I guess she says she doesn't remember. Is a freak liposuction accident, which happens to the best of us, I will say for sure. But what do you think about the father daughter dynamic here in this story?
I really liked it. I think it's he's he's like this powerful lawyer. Again, you can't take it too seriously because I mean, I started to think because I was a daughter of a single dad. I was like, well, how did this work? Who took care of her when she was real little? Because he manages to work all the time and like climb the ladder, and he's in the middle of big cases, and so how does that work? But you can't
Well,
think too much about that. I mean,
and
there's
we find out that that he had remarried, right? Because obviously
he had
we meet her ex stepbrother, Paul Rudd, who's,
right.
plays Josh. So I mean, there would have been other women in the house. Let's bring this back down to the
Great.
world of realism here, Michaela.
Great, great. Okay. Well, I really liked that she watched after his diet and but he would absolutely be like, you're not, you're not getting, I'm not putting up with you getting a C. Go do better. He really wants her to be more responsible. But then when push comes to shove, like she is a very capable person. And what I also really like is you bring up Josh, who is his ex-wife's son, and he says, "Look, I'm always going to be there for him. Like you can divorce people, but you can't divorce children, right? You can divorce
Hmm.
spouses, but not kids." So at first, there's like this contention, but especially the relationship that he has with both of those as a kind of father figures to both of them is interesting because as Paul starts to notice Cher in a different way, it is not lost on Mel Horowitz. He sees right through all of this and kind of sets all of that in motion while also protecting his daughter's heart. And I think that that's actually really cool because it's very subtle in a movie that is about as in your face as like a punch in the face. And I really liked that piece.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you don't get anything past Mel there. If you're going to be one of the top attorneys in the land, you don't let things slide by too much. You mentioned Josh a little bit. We'll probably circle back to him. But let's talk about that C that Cher got because this is kind of like the first like big set piece that introduces us to Dionne, who's played by Stacey Dash, who's the best friend here, and kind of their interactions at school. And you'll see Cher going around to the different teachers, right, and lobbying to get herself a better grade. But when it comes time to get her grade from Mr. Wendell Hall, who's played by the incredible Wallace Shawn, he's not going to budge, right? And it's because he's grumpy and sad, of course, right? But there's another teacher there in the teacher's lounge who might be a compatible fit. Maybe there's true love in the air. Miss Toby Geist is played by Twink Kaplan, who's also in the Look Who's Talking series as well. She's amazing. She's very disheveled looking all the time. But Cher decides that true love can come through in this instance. She gets them set up. I love like Cher and Dionne are like watching on as they like give Mr. Hall some like coffee to take and have like this date. And I really, really like this because if you're watching like any other like high school movie, like this section would happen like almost beat for beat, but it would be done like vindictively. But Cher's like
Oh
so
yeah.
happy that they're falling in love. And I think that that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, no, she truly is like trying to create sparks between these two characters. And she does it again, she's not doing it in any sort of nefarious way where even if they found out later, I feel like that she did this and kind of set them up. I think they would have been more like they would have found it really endearing and sweet and heartwarming
Mhm.
instead of like how could you do this you created this
Yeah.
illusion.
You
um
used us, right? Yeah.
You used us. And, at first, again, it's because she wants him to be amenable to changing her grades, but also she does some extra work around some of her own, like it's the debate, like she's in debate class. And so she does a little bit extra work to try and make her points more clear, more concise, even if they're a little strange. She and in so doing, she raises her own grade by doing the actual work better as well. And so it's sort of a like a catch 22 if it were like you can't really pinpoint it on just this act of helping, Mr. Hall and Miss Geist get together to make a good case for her grade. Like she can do that, but she also gets better at arguments, like the art of arguing points. And that's really kind of neat to see because you see at the beginning she's making a case and it's like, what is she saying? And by the end, um, it's still a little it's still hard to get there, but she at least is making more compelling arguments, right? In
Mhm.
the way Cher can. So, yeah, it's really kind of neat. And her friends are also really in on this. Like Dee is what probably her best friend and is helping to sort some of that out. And they decide they got to set Ty up with someone. And Cher thinks that it's a great idea to set Ty up with Elton,
Yeah.
a name I haven't seen since our favorite singer-songwriter.
Since John, yeah, Elton,
Hmm.
there play Jeremy Sisto. Yeah, you got a couple more characters here, and yeah, Ty's new to school, right? So they're going to give her the makeover. But again, it's not like a Mean Girls type of a makeover. She's like, hey, I can help you like fit into school better. That would be great. But yeah, it introduces her to Elton and tries to set up that Cher thinks that's kind of her calling in life, right? She could be this matchmaker, which I guess is
Mm.
really where like one of the like big parallels to Emma comes from the Jane Austen story there. So that's kind of interesting. We also get like Dionne's boyfriend, who's Murray, played by Donald Faison, who is hilarious. I love him in this movie. He's most notable for being in Scrubs. He's hilarious. I
Mm.
love him. I love he's getting like his head shaved at the party, and Dee's like, "I'm gonna call your mom," and he freaks out. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You also have Amber, who's played by Eliza Donovan. She is more of like the stereotypical like mean girl, I guess, of the school, and just never seems
Mm.
to get one up on Cher. But yeah, it's set and tie up with Elton, and I like that because you get like the first kind of interaction with Ty there, and she's kind of like on her first day of school, and she bumps into Travis, who's played by Breckin Meyer, who's kind of this stoner skateboard kind of a kid, and immediately like some sparks fly, but Cher kind of steers her in this direction, and it's funny that like Ty like buys into it like hook, line, and sinker, like oh yeah, that is what I want, and they end up going to this party and spending like the time together, those two, but really Elton is a turd. Get out of here. There is the
Oh, so we got to talk about this because I love Jeremy Sisto. Okay, if you don't know him, you need to go see all of 6 Feet Under because he's amazing in it. I have a very, very soft spot for Jeremy Sisto. He reminds me of one of my first loves. And in this film, it's really, really tough because he's so gross. Like, it's obvious that he is not into Ty. It's obvious that he is into Cher, but not into Cher the way that um the way Travis is into Ty. It's not innocent at all. It's all about
Mhm.
like just putting his hands on her like all the time. He's just possessive and gross, and he does such a great job. Jeremy Sisto is amazing at being a complete jerk in this one, and I get really mad because there's a party. Cher ends up going with Elton in the car, and she is convinced that he likes Ty, and he's like, absolutely not. I have always liked you, and I don't even like you that much. I just want to have my wicked way with you, and then he leaves her in the middle of nowhere, and she has no one to call except for Josh, because she knows if she calls her dad, she's toast. And Josh comes and rescues her. He is just a jerk. This Elton Tishia. He's a tushy, this guy. Not a good guy.
Yeah,
But he
Elton's
does
a
it
jerk.
well.
I do
He does
I
it
do
so
like
well.
I do like, I mean, he is trying, and Cher tells him to stop, and he does, and then she like gets out of the car, and she's like, fine, I'm just gonna get out of the car and walk. So she does, and then he leaves, and she's like, where are you going? So that's pretty good. But luckily, you got ex stepbrother there, Josh, is going to come and bail you out, and I like that because he's like in the middle of some time with his date there, and
Oh yeah,
comes and picks
yeah,
her up
yeah.
anyway because Josh is a good guy. So they're there, and you hear like the college banter. Like that's one of the big themes of this movie is like the differentiation between like high school kids and college kids here. So you get that and a little
Yeah.
bit more interaction there, and you'll see like Cher like looking up like kind of like longingly at him as he like walks her to the door and is like what is wrong with Elton? Why is Elton such a turd? Like Josh seems like a nice guy here. What's up with that? But Cher is not going to be too lonely for too long because there is a new kid in class. I guess he's not new. He's just spending half of his year in Chicago and then half of his year back here, which is kind of funny because it seems like everyone should know like who he is if that had been the case before. But he shows up. His name is Christian, played by Justin Walker, who comes in, and Cher's talked about how she doesn't like high school. boys, right? Get out of here.
Mm,
They're little gross mongrels,
hmm
as if shoving them off there. But when Christian walks in, very James Dean-esque, she's going to be quite smitten to decide maybe high school boys is where it's at.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just take into consideration, okay, what Christian brought to the table. He was polite, he was well dressed, he was supportive of her and her friends. He told her she was beautiful, right? All the time. He was nice to her. I mean,
Being nice goes a long way.
it really does. And the whole I mean, and then she thinks that, maybe this is a budding romance. And again, it doesn't feel something doesn't feel quite right. Like I'm watching this and I know exactly what's going on. But they go to a party. Like again, he's nice to her. He makes sure that that he meets her dad, right? He says
Hmm.
hello.
Hmm.
Like he's a little high, like he's a little highfalutin, right? He's just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" But he at least is like he's a little aloof, but he's nice enough, right? He picks her up, he takes her home, he doesn't try and like assault her. These are all good things. Now Josh doesn't like it. He's like, Dad, Mel, I think I need to go to this party.
Are you,
He's
are
way
you going
too
to let
good
her wear
looking.
that out of the
She's
house?
good. Right. Who says that's a dress? Calvin Klein does. I love it because Josh ends up going to this party, and that's when we know Josh is very protective, but it's not like in a big brother way. He's like, oh, she looks amazing, and I got to go make sure that nothing happens here, because Cher might get herself into some trouble, as what happened with Elton. So, uh, yeah, but turns out there is no danger of Christian being into Cher because he doesn't like he doesn't he, I mean he loves Cher. He just doesn't like her that way because he's just not that way. So
Yeah.
I find it kind of interesting. And I have to say, I loved this piece in a way because he can tell they have like this one night together where he was going over to watch movies. That's what he said. He was going to bring his VHS tapes. And she's
Mhm.
thinking that this definitely means they're going to get down. So like she's getting all the advice from the non-virgins, right, of what to do and how to look and they're laying there on the bed and he can tell that she is thinking that this is going to happen and he very very gently leaves. He doesn't tell her anything. He doesn't tell her she's nuts, or that he's not into her, or that he's into guys, or anything like that. But he excuses himself very nicely, and that makes me love Christian even more because that's hard when you fall in love with a gay man. It's
Yeah.
it's real hard, Brian.
But they do okay, right? They continue to be friends, and Cher even says that he's his best or he's her best shopping buddy now, so
Yeah,
that's pretty good. He ends up, kind of rescuing Ty from these knuckleheads at the mall, which propels Ty into being kind of the
popular girl.
the popular girl right here, kind of out of nowhere, which rubs Cher the wrong way a little bit, and she's having kind of a crisis of faith, I guess, in her own, like, right. She's like we said, she's never been like vindictive about being the most popular kid at school, but she's just always been the most popular kid at school. Like how do you do that? And as it turns out now, Ty is finally starting to get over Elton. I love she like brings like the box of stuff over from like their
To
like their
burn.
like 2 hours together that they spent at that party. So that's pretty fun. But Ty, lays it out that, maybe she has some feelings for Josh, and Cher's like, wait, what? Why is this bothering me? And then I love you get like her like walking like through like down like off of like Rodeo Drive and in front of this like giant fountain which lights up as it suddenly dawns on her that she's the one that likes Josh. What is even up with that? So who knew? Who would have thunk it? So let's talk about Josh a little bit more here as we kind of wrap up the story because obviously it's going to kind of fast forward there. We get our people out now, our couples.
Hmm.
Let's talk about Josh, and then I want to talk about kind of the way that the story ends.
Yeah, so Josh is, I mean, he's Paul Rudd, so just I don't. He's kind. But he doesn't. He has the most interesting like relationship to Cher at first because he very much is like this big brother who thinks that she's clueless. He calls her a brat. He calls her out when she's not making any sense. Um, but he doesn't like want to go to his real house because his new stepdad is a jerk. He really misses this family and he doesn't say a lot about it. Like he doesn't want to go home for spring break. And Cher just at first is like, dude, just live with us for the week or whatever. It'll be fine. He really wants to be a lawyer. He wants to do something with his life. He's a little bit cerebral even for college when you're in 1995 when you're a teenager thinking what college is going to be like. Like they're talking about Hamlet on a Saturday night. Pretty sure that's not normal. Even for
He's watching
some
CNN
total
like in the
Baldwin like
afternoon.
Josh Lucas. Yeah. Right. Maybe now that would be a thing. I don't know. I feel like that pre September 11th probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But he like comes to her aid when she calls, right? And he tells her and kind of helps her be a better person. And I find that to be kind of to me the crux of this love story that really hits home to me, right? I never wanted to like this movie. I want to be very clear. But what I really love about this is she is perfectly fine being who she is at the beginning of the film. And it's because of her relationship with Josh that she starts thinking about being more worldly, being more cultured, thinking about people other than herself, even though even through like finding getting Mr. Hall and Geist together, right? Finding Ty a relationship and helping that foster into something. Like it's because Josh inspired that in her, and that's what makes this relationship so cool. Because he starts to see it, and when he sees it, um, it's really kind of beautiful. Like she's working on a case, and this she makes a mistake. We think she makes a mistake. I don't really understand. There's a file or something. I don't know, but some dude who
This is the only
works,
plot hole of the movie right here for me.
yeah,
That guy yells at her,
yeah.
and in like 1 second, her dad would be there to fire that guy and make sure he never worked again.
Right. Oh, 100%. Because she's actually trying. She's like, "Oh, well, I put it in this file or I use this to highlight what I thought was right and I put it in these two places." I mean, that seemed perfectly fine to me, but then she gets really upset and Josh is like, "Dude, I will take care of it," and throws the guy out and the guy's like, "I'm calling in sick." And it's like, "Dude, you're going to call in dead tomorrow when Mel finds out." But then, they kind of, I don't know, they have this moment on the stairs where he's like, you're much more, there's much more to you than meets the eye. And then there's this kiss that's amazing. I mean, it's still pretty chaste. Like this is fine for for kids to watch, like for teenagers to watch, but I still found it pretty intense. It was lovely.
There you
Yeah.
go, and that kind of rounds it out right now. So Josh is, it's basically come out to the forefront here that Cher and Josh really are that into you, as it were. And we kind of go to the end here. So Travis is back, a skateboarder guy. I love he's or Cher's putting together like this like donation fund drive for there's a fire, I think, somewhere, and
Yep.
they were doing this thing.
Gizmo Beach.
She'd like organized all of this fundraiser type of stuff, and Travis comes in with stuff to donate, including a bong, which goes in kitchenwares, of course. That's where I kept it. But he invites her to this skateboarding thing, and again, this is the same as like the party, right? That he'd invited
Yeah.
them to earlier, and she really only didn't want to go because it was so far away from where they lived. It wasn't like she's like, oh, we don't associate with them, right? We just don't date them. That's just not just not how the high school hierarchy works. But he invites her to this skateboarding thing that he's putting on or being a part of, and so
Hmm.
she goes, and Ty goes along there, and she sees that Ty and Travis really are into each other too. And then fast forward, it's like a year later, and now we're at the wedding there for Mr. Hall and Miss Geist to get married. That's nice. True love rings
It is
through, and
nice.
you got the couples there, right? So you got Dionne and Murray. Dionne and Murray. You got Ty and
Oh yeah.
Travis there, and then of course Cher and Josh here to celebrate the nuptials of their teachers.
Yeah, who does that? I mean, I mean, I had a lot of teachers that got married and remarried in high school, and I was never invited to any of their weddings. Probably for the reason that we see, which is a bunch of people fighting over the bouquet. Josh is like, "We got a $200 pool going, Cher. I need you to go knuckle down and get that bouquet of fake roses." And Cher does. She like, I mean, I thought they were gonna absolutely like wrestle it out of Amber's the mean girl's hands, but she did it. And then there's this really great kiss at the end between Josh and Cher, which again, it's pretty awesome. If I do say so myself, for 1995, it's pretty
It's pretty
good.
good. It's pretty good there. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it ends, right? It leaves our characters, changed for the better here over the course
Yeah.
of this pretty short story. It's just under 90 minutes or just over 90 minutes there, and that is Clueless. And it was a big deal, as I mentioned at the top. Even in Ohio, in Texas, where you would have been at the time that this came out, the ripples of Clueless reached far and wide, both in terms of, like I said, like fashion, like the way like girls were dressing to kind of emulate Cher's styles, was there to the point everyone talking in like this like faux like caricature like valley speak. That was a real true
As
thing
if.
that
Yeah.
happened for sure. Clueless like spawned a bunch of like high school like comedy things and had influence over like the way movies work. It reminded me a lot. I was going to look up to see exactly when they came out, how close together they were, but it's similar to Scream in that it was kind of like poking fun at the genre of high school movies, just like Scream was doing the
Yeah.
same for like horror movies, but ultimately ended up, kind of being this big influential like like chain of
Yeah. Scream
events that
came out the
happened
year
to them.
after.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of the same type of a thing, right? Obviously, in different genres here, but kind of the same sort of like backbone to those
Hmm.
stories, really, if you think about it. And then it went on to spawn a bunch of stuff. So as I mentioned, it was originally written as a TV series. It became a TV series. I don't think that performed particularly well, but there's been a couple of Broadway iterations of Clueless now to this point as well. And then I think it was in last year's Super Bowl or maybe the year before they had the Clueless commercial, which was amazing because it had Alicia Silverstone was back and also um, Eliza Donovan as Amber was in
Hmm.
the commercial there as well. That is amazing. I love that kind of paying homage to it. And we have to talk about the soundtrack, Michaela. Soundtrack
Oh my gosh.
slaps.
Soundtrack is amazing. Soundtrack is great. Rolling with the homies. Um,
I like the Counting Crows is the like de facto like college kids music. It's like what is she calls it like sad jams or something like that or
yep,
something
yep.
like that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. No, it's good. I don't know, man. I feel like it was probably good that I didn't see it or I didn't enjoy it when I did. I probably would, I don't know. I don't know. Everything happens for a reason. I really enjoyed watching this and I loved the soundtrack. Like even at the beginning when she's driving her Jeep and I think it's I'm Just a Girl
Well,
is
it's so
playing.
it starts out with Kids in America, but then it also
Kids in
plays
America.
Just a Girl, I think, when she's driving to school, I think,
Yeah.
kind of in the
Yeah.
next couple of scenes there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the
Got some
soundtrack, I
Beastie
mean, it's
Boys in there. We got Mighty Mighty Boss Tones,
Mighty Mighty
man. I
Bosstones
mean,
performing live in the movie.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
there were
I love the
15
ska.
there were 15 tracks on the soundtrack, and I think there were probably another like 30 that didn't even make it
Yeah.
onto the soundtrack. And the soundtrack is certified platinum, so pretty good there. But yeah, this is a little slice of the 90s for sure. If you were too young to have experienced the 90s, go ahead and watch this. It's like a brightly colored jubilation of all thing 1995.
Very, very much so. I mean, I remember the Calvin Klein dress, right? I don't know what to call those dresses. I call them pencil dresses rather than a pencil skirt
Hmm.
because if you don't look like Alicia Silverstone, the dress is not going to work on your body. You need to be like super thin and like kind of H shaped, as I think my stylist would say, right? You have to have like equal hips to like shoulder ratio. But she wears it so well and like everything she does is either that or like the hiked up top with showing a little bit of midriff, right, with the little skirt with the little like the tennis skirt with all the pleats
Hmm.
or now it cheer skirt maybe is what it's called. That that totally defined like all the beautiful people in my high school. I don't know about yours, Brian, but all of
Hmm.
the beautiful people who could wear that stuff wore it all the time with the thigh highs.
I
And
say
it's
like the
so
like the knee-high
interesting.
socks, yeah, that
Oh
became
my
like a huge thing. Yeah.
gosh. Oh, and I have to say, I was like, I get it. I get what I didn't like it at the time. I was real mad because I could never wear anything like that, but But I get it. I get it. I get it. I've been changed for the better because I watched Clueless. There. Are you
Just
happy?
like
Great.
just like Cher, you have changed for the better, no doubt. Um,
That's right.
yeah, I Clueless is a big deal, and obviously celebrating its 30th anniversary, being back in the theaters, we wanted to chat about it. I actually wanted to talk about it here for a little while, but it kept kind of getting pushed back. But it seemed like the time was right to do this before we're back into the movie theaters here. And yeah, this is it's one of my favorite kind of high school like coming of age stories. So it makes sense that it's on that list that Michaela saw earlier there for sure. So I think that's going to wrap it up here for our episode 224 about Clueless. So let us know at home if you've seen Clueless, if you thought the Super Bowl commercial was awesome. It was the best Super Bowl commercial that year, hands down. That was
Hands
great.
down.
Let us know what you think about the soundtrack. What's your favorite tune from it? It's probably the Radiohead song there, I'm guessing. Let us know all that, and let us know if you make up the Cinema Sips cocktail. What was it called?
It was called The Duchess.
The Duchess from Cinema Sips. Let us know if you do any of
Hmm.
that stuff, and tag us. Send all of that information our way. You can do it on our social medias. That's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of our cocktails, episode recaps, links to the merchandise store, to Drink the Video Games, to Patreon, that can be found on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. Speaking of Patreon, we have a bunch of bonus stuff going on over there. We've got bonus episodes right now for 28 days and 28 weeks later. Very different than Clueless. If you want to go check that out, we'll be doing our hangout here shortly. We'll probably have a couple of bonus things here coming over the course of the summer as we're going to start getting into movies, and Oscar watches are going to start happening here probably any day now would be my guess. So check that out. It's patreon.com/drink the movies. And you're going to want to follow along because we have new releases coming fast and furious. Not the Fast and the Furious, but new releases coming fast and furious here over the summer. So, Michaela, where can people subscribe, like, rate, all the things?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are distributed and supported. I guarantee what you're listening to us on right now has a subscribe button. We do 2 drops a week at least. Our lobby bar is good for a good time, a good short time, where we talk a simple cocktail with what's going on in the box office. We do our deep dives like the one you just listened to. We've done 224 of those, so I'm sure you can find your favorite movie or one like it in that list and go learn about a cocktail at least, if not 5, because we've gone a little crazy in the past. It's been known to happen while we talk about a movie. Leave us a 5-star review. Share us on all the social medias. For those of you that love video games or just want more cocktails that I talk about without knowing anything about a video game at all, join us for Drink the Video Games. And when I say us, I really mean Brian. It's really cool. He's got season 3 coming out, doing a lot of Star Wars video games. Even if you don't like video games, it's really interesting stuff. And there's always a fun cocktail in there for good measure. So thanks for continuing to listen to us and continue to share us on all the things. Leave us 5-star reviews. It really helps us get all the drink, the music, drink the video games, drink the movies stuff out there.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up here for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
Drink the
the movies.
Movies.
You're just a virgin who can't drive.
That was way harsh, Ty.